Are you ready to unlock your full potential and maximize your productivity? Look no further than Productivity Smarts, the ultimate audio podcast hosted by renowned productivity expert Gerald J. Leonard. In every episode, Gerald shares captivating stories, invaluable tips, and cutting-edge strategies that will transform the way you approach productivity. Whether you're looking to reduce stress, overcome overwhelm, or simply get more done in less time, Productivity Smarts has got you covered. But that's not all. You'll also gain inspiration from real-life success stories of individuals who have achieved greatness through productivity. Plus, you'll learn the latest tools, techniques, and habits that will help you achieve a new level of happiness and fulfillment in your personal and professional life. So why wait? Join us every week as we delve into the exciting world of productivity and help you unleash your full potential. Get ready to take your productivity to the next level with Productivity Smarts. As a productivity expert and host of the Productivity Smarts podcast, Gerald J. Leonard has been a proud supporter of Kiva since 2011. Kiva is a non-profit organization that helps entrepreneurs in third-world countries access the capital they need to start or grow their businesses. By making a small loan through Kiva, you can help these entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, support their families, and contribute to their local economies. And with a repayment rate of over 96%, your loan can be relent to another entrepreneur once it's repaid, creating a ripple effect of positive change. So if you're looking for a meaningful way to make a difference in the world, consider making a loan through Kiva. With loans as small as $25, anyone can be a microlender and help change lives. Visit kiva.org to learn more and start lending today.
All right. Well, today I am with Rodger Friedman. He is a retirement strategist and wealth advisor for 40 years. And having served as a senior vice president of wealth management for Morgan Stanley and a senior investment management consultant for Smith Barney, he is a chartered retirement planning counselor. He has taken part in thousands of conversations regarding wealth building, retirement, financial planning, and passive income, and more. Rodger is a veteran with over 60 interviews and articles. Rodger, how are you?
I'm fantastic today, Gerald. Thanks for asking.
Excellent, excellent. Well, today we're going to be talking about productive wealth building. And, I like this topic because I just had someone else on from Canada who's a wealth advisor. And we talked about how when you have a good financial plan and you have a strategy for managing money and so on, how that really releases a lot of stress because money plays a big part of the stress that people take on, and it really can hinder them in their careers and everything else. But before,
I think it's a leading cause of divorce also.
It is. It really is. There's a lot of stress in every angle of life when it comes to having money or the lack of money or the mismanagement of money or not being on the same page. Couples can have a lot of money and not be on the same page or have a right strategy or tactics. And we'll talk about a lot of those things. Now, I have two questions to ask you before we get into the meat of this. And that is, as I ask all my guests now, what is your favorite style or genre of music?
Well, I love mostly the Beatles and Billy Joel and a bunch of those. But I've been listening recently under the genre of Paul Gray bourbon blues.
Okay.
That I came across. And I'm listening to it in my car every single day. I mean, it's just such great blues. And I haven't played blues in years.
Yeah.
But I heard it the other day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm playing this every day.
It just resonated with you.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So that brings me to my second question. What is that piece of music, and it could just be the style, again, that really resonates with you and why?
My all-time favorite song is Jim Croce, Photographs and Memories.
Okay.
That is the song that was burned into my mind after my girlfriend and I broke up at SUNY, State University of New York, back when I had no gray hair, full head of black hair, and I was about 20 years old.
Okay.
And it was just such a traumatic moment. That song is burned into my head.
Excellent. Sometimes, that's how music gets into our lives. It's through
emotion. Yes.
Emotions, exactly. And then that song comes on and it ties itself.
And time stops.
Exactly. Time
All
stops.
that's left of that old love is photographs and memories.
There
That's
you go.
it.
There you go. Well, listen, obviously you've done a lot of great work to have, 40 years and 60 years as a veteran and tons of articles and interviews. What has made you so successful in the financial service industry and throughout your career?
More than anything else, I think it's my willingness to
Mhm.
be uncomfortable.
Okay.
Okay. Because most people want to live in their comfort zone.
Yep.
It's uncomfortable going out of there.
Yes.
And I learned a long time ago, I think it was from Dan Kennedy and Jay Abraham, is that all growth happens outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So if you want to grow, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable,
Yes.
which sounds strange, but it is absolutely true.
That is very true in the world of music, because if you want to grow as a musician, you have to push yourself to play music that you can't play.
Right.
And so then you have to slow the music down. You have to practice the passages very slowly until you develop these new muscle memory to play this music that you never could play before. But once you are able to play a new song at a different level, it opens up a whole new arena of thoughts and ideas and access to other musicians who are playing at that level. And it happens throughout life. And I've seen that happen across the board. And so it drives me to ask this question, because there's 7 areas that I want to ask you about in your book, which is an excellent book on the 18 wealthy strategies and concepts or lessons that will transform your thinking, right? That you've written about. And one of the questions I did have was about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And here's the idea. Stressed about money is one of the leading causes of distraction and burnout. What strategies from your book can help individuals mitigate financial stress to enhance their productivity? In other words, how do they get comfortable being uncomfortable with money?
One of the first lessons that I learned a long time ago, and I learned this the hard way, back when E.F. Hutton in the 1980s, if you remember that name.
Yes.
And I think I actually titled a chapter, it's Avoid Stupid, okay? Yes. Because there I was in a boardroom full of a whole bunch of other guys. I don't think there were any women. And nobody knew what the hell they were doing, Gerald, okay? Yet everyone was looking at what the next guy was doing, and then they were emulating what they saw.
Right.
So here, everyone's doing everything wrong, and everyone's copying everyone. Yeah. You can imagine what the outcome is.
Yeah, that's a disaster.
So one of the things that I learned the hard way was look at what everyone else is doing and don't do that. And years later, Dan Kennedy echoed the same words.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think he got it from Norman Vincent Peale.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't have a mentor, okay, look at what everyone else is doing and don't do that. Right. So if you start at a car showroom and you see that all the salespeople every morning, they have the paper, they have the bagel, they have the donut, they have the coffee, and they're sitting and they're waiting for people to come in.
Right.
You might not know what to do, but don't do that. Okay. And, everyone will make fun of you going, what are you doing that for? Well, I'm not doing what you're doing.
Right.
Okay. Because I don't want to be average.
Exactly. Exactly. I found that, and we'll talk about this too when we talk about being an expert or hiring expertise, is that you really want to find a mentor or guide who is a tour guide and not a travel agent, right? Because a travel agent,
well said.
A travel agent is someone that's like, hey, here's a brochure on how to get wealthy, how to manage your money, how to do this.
Sounds like a salesman. Here's a brochure.
And then you say, well, do you drive that car? Do you have a plan? Do you have advisors? No, but they're advising you to have those things. You want to follow someone who has done those things or doing those things and really have a plan and have been there many times, right?
And the thing about the plan is, if you have 50 grand to your name, Gerald,
Yeah.
you could buy one of those popular mutual funds from Vanguard or Fidelity or whoever, and don't worry about it and look at a statement every month or every quarter.
Right.
But wealth is complex.
Yeah.
And the maintenance of wealth is complex. And there are no simple solutions to complex issues or problems.
Right.
To highlight that, not long ago, I was at a meeting. A friend had passed away.
Okay.
And I was asked to participate in a meeting with an attorney and the trust company and so on and so forth.
Right.
And these people had moderate assets in the 8 figures. Okay. Not billionaires. Okay. Right. And I was listening to the attorney, $900 an hour attorney, mind you.
Okay.
And the trust officers. And I was listening to as they went through issue by issue, LLC, by trust, by irrevocable trust, by revocable trust, all the codicils and everything else. And I'm saying to myself, number one, these are my people. I understand everything that they're saying. Right. Number two, it is complex.
Right.
Okay. There are no simple strategies when wealth is involved. Right. When you had your first job at 20 grand a year, okay, it wasn't all that complex.
Yes.
But today, life is more complex, and rightfully so.
Exactly. Yeah, you definitely need to have someone who's been in the room, understands the terminology. And again, one of the reasons I like talking about this topic when it comes to productivity and being productivity smart is that if you have the right advisors, and you don't have to be the smartest person in the room.
No, you're hiring expertise. You're buying their brains.
Exactly. And that leads me to another question I had, and that was around habits. Because you have various chapters in these 18 areas, and habit was one of them. And you discussed the transformative mindset and financial habits and the mindset. How does that developing the right habits shape and improve your personal and professional productivity as well as your wealth and so on by developing the right habits?
Well, number one, it's not easy. Otherwise, everyone would do it.
Right.
And everyone would be a multimillionaire.
Right.
But, habits, I still have the habits. Okay. And although your listeners won't see this, okay, I read a book and I have my same black magic marker all the time. And my time must be protected. Okay. Remove me from having to answer every question. My job is to make decisions and take action. Achievement can only follow from decision. So I have these on index cards. I review them every day. I pound them into my bones. Wow. Because what makes you successful is the quality of your decisions.
Yep.
And your behavior.
Right.
Those beget the habits.
Yep.
Okay. And, people that I grew up with who made nothing of themselves and have a fraction of what I've been able to create.
Right.
He made bad decisions by and large, and they exhibited poor behavior.
Right.
And I made sure I didn't do that.
Gotcha.
While I was under my dad's roof, he made sure I didn't do that.
Exactly. So let me ask you this. Obviously, because it's not a video and we're on audio, you have a stack of index cards, right? That you had a rubber band around. You took the rubber band off and you started reading these statements. Where did you learn that from?
I don't know where I learned it from. What I do remember is I'd be listening to Brian Tracy, who I've met many times, J. Abraham.
Yep.
And, they'd be at the front of the room, or I'd be sitting with Brian Tracy in his office, and he'd say, "This is a writer downer." Okay. And that came to home. So I carry blank index cards with me. And when I'm reading a book, I read about a book a week, maybe 2 books a week, during summer. And I just finished, for example, a wonderful book, reading it for the second time, Larry Winget, if you don't know the name.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. He's a personal development bull.
Yeah.
And he is very non-polite.
Yeah. Candor.
Candor, he's got 200 pair of cowboy boots. And I remember him saying something that really resonated. And I wrote the whole damn thing down on an index card, and I could basically recite it.
Right.
So, you know how people say that, their passion is their job?
Yeah.
Okay. Like you might say that podcasting is your passion, but is that really your passion? And when someone confronted him after a 2-hour keynote address, saying, "Oh, this must be your passion. You're so good at it. You had the whole room on their feet and the applause and everything." Goes, no. That's not my passion.
Right.
My passion is sitting on my patio, looking at the mountains at dusk. I have my bulldog on my lap. I have a bourbon in my left hand. I got a cigar in my right hand, and my wife is right next to me. That's my passion. These speeches is paying for my passion. I mean, that was so well said. I said, how could I not write that down?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I would recommend Larry Winget's, books, because they cut to the core of a lot of success and personal development issues without the sugarcoating.
Yeah. Yeah. He's very straightforward. So I like the idea of carrying note cards around, and as you hear something or read something that really strikes a chord with you, that you write it down, you add it to your collection, you review it daily, because that keeps you focused.
Yeah, and it puts it in your bones. So I can talk to you about this all day long. I don't need notes in front of me.
Exactly. So I have the habit of writing out my goals as affirmations, kind of like what Brian Tracy teaches and so on. And also I'll rephrase them as questions to really ask myself, in how many ways am I living this way? And as I'm writing it out, I'm listening to meditative music, and I do this every day.
That sounds wonderful.
And what it does, it programs your brain to begin to see all the opportunities, all the resources, everything. And it also puts you in a state where you're always aware when something comes into your field of energy or your purview that's related to one of your goals, you pick it up right away.
Yeah. My friend Lee Miltier talks about this all the time.
Yeah. If I didn't have that habit, I know that a lot of the things that have happened in my career in the last 5 or 6 years would not have happened, because if a lot of people will either have a goal and they maybe write it down once a year, or they may have just wrote it down once and they don't even think about it.
And they expect it to happen.
Exactly. And you really do have to review those important mindsets or goals or things along that line on a daily basis.
Yeah, because no one's going to do it for you.
Right.
The government's not going to do it for you. Your spouse isn't going to do it for you. If you're to be a success, it's the person staring back at you in the mirror who's responsible. And if you're not doing well, it's their fault. And you let them know. Give them a piece of your mind.
Exactly. So let me ask you, one of your chapters was about intentions, right?
Okay. When it comes to achievement, you could have all the intentions in the world.
Yep.
I intend to sit down and write out things on my index cards. I intend to read a book each week. I intend to take that personal development course. But without execution, your intentions are just like a nice breeze in the summer.
Yes.
Okay. They have to be followed by actions.
Yeah.
And I have found that I have so many things going on in my life, they have to be written down. Whether you want to call it a to-do list or a goal list, or the 3 things I need to get done today, or the 5 things I need to be done this week, the intentions must be turned into actionable progress.
Right, right. And be able to track those as well. And that leads me to the next topic, which is clarity. Right. And I noticed that in the book, clarity is the last chapter. Right. So I had a question of why was clarity the last chapter? And
Well,
how does clarity and goal setting and wealth building and productivity improvements all tie together?
well, the interesting thing is that I remember Dan Kennedy asking a question in a seminar saying, why aren't more people wealthy?
Right.
Because you always hear the wealthy 1%, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And he asked a question that was a writer downer. He said, how many people will pick up a book and read it if it has wealth in the title? Gerald, that's a damn good question. Okay. Yeah. 18 wealth lessons. Okay. How many people will not pick up the book because it has wealth in the title? How many people will?
Right.
Okay. And clarity, you have to think, what the hell am I trying to achieve here? Okay. Right. If I want to work for UPS and be a driver and put 1% in my 401k in the money market fund for 30 years, I'm going to have a specific outcome.
Right.
Okay. However, if I visualize what I want to achieve, I want to have $5 million by the time I'm 65, for example.
Right.
And I am going to work 1, 2, 3 jobs as necessary. I'm going to make tax efficient investments. I'm going to be very attuned to taxation. I'm going to get clarity by bringing in people with expertise that I don't have.
Right.
And I will rent their expertise for X dollars per hour.
Yep.
Okay. And then following that plan diligently for years. Most people can't follow a recipe. That's why the meatloaf sucks and it's got to go in the garbage.
I haven't had meatloaf in a while, but
following a plan for years is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And if it's a plan of achievement, well, just look at America. I'm told that all groups in the country break up into percentages of 1, 4, 15, and 80. 1% super achievement.
Right.
Elon Musk, jobs, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Billions or hundreds of millions. Then come the 4%. I kind of like to think I'm in the 4%.
Okay.
Then there's the moderate 15%. They'll be okay, but they really have to watch their P's and Q's.
Right.
The bottom 80%, welfare, church programs, help from neighbors and family, never an extra penny around.
Right.
Okay. So 1, 4, 15, and 80.
Right.
And if you think of how many things fall into that category, so I could say musicians in Alabama. I could say dentists in the Northeast.
Right.
I could say Protestants in Florida. I could say wealth advisors in the nation. Every single one of those groups, 1, 4, 15, and 80.
Gotcha. So that's amazing. The Pareto principle playing itself out, right?
Although this came from Social Security. In the 1950s, yes. And then again during the 2000s, they found that given all the increases in technology,
right,
1, 4, 15, and 80.
So we know the 1%. What separates the 4% and the 15%?
So the 4% might have a couple $1 million.
Okay. Okay.
The 15%, 200,000 to 900,000, for example. Okay. They might still have a mortgage. The 4%, they probably don't have any debt unless it's business debt.
Right.
A good debt.
Right.
But they don't have a home mortgage. Everything's paid for. Everything's paid in cash.
Right.
But the more people in the 4%, the better for you.
Exactly. So let me ask you this, going back to that 4% then, what is the mindset that the 4% has followed that's allowed them to become part of that 4%? And which leads me to my next question is, what are the decisions that the 4% follow, as well as the task prioritization that the 4% follow to help them get to that level?
Great question. So number one, it's an achievement orientation.
Okay.
And I will make this available however you want me to. So after I wrote 18 Wealth Lessons, I created a suggested reading list of 25 books to spur your thinking.
Okay.
And I'll send it to you. To me, the best way of learning might not be a podcast. It's not a magazine. It's not a TikTok video.
It's a book.
It's books.
Yeah.
Okay. Because experts write books.
Right.
So I am always reading books. I'm always rereading what you see behind you in my library.
Yep.
Okay. Just like I was rereading Larry Winget and Dan Kennedy. I reread, and Jay Abraham, I reread all the time.
Yep.
But the point is that you have to have that achievement orientation and be serious that this is not a dress rehearsal.
Yep.
Okay. You don't get to, I'll skate for a couple of years. Well, you just wasted a couple of years that could have been mind-bendingly foundational for you.
Right.
Okay. So the point is to always be very cognizant and protect your time. Okay. You have to figure out by time blocking what you are going to achieve every single day.
Yes.
Okay. And woe be unto you if you ever say, I don't know what to do with my time. It's only 2:00. I wish it was bedtime already. It's not time for friends or NCIS. I don't know what to do with my time.
Right.
People like that, I don't walk away from. I run away from.
Gotcha. It's a very different mindset when you're getting to that level. And I agree with you. And that's one of the reasons why on the podcast, I interview authors. Because one, I read their books and I'm introduced to a lot of new books. And I believe that reading a book has the highest ROI of the time that you could spend. Because let's say if you read a book word for word like a regular sitting, and it takes you 5 or 6 hours to read the book. Well, it's probably taken that person 20 to 30 years to develop that knowledge. It might have taken them between 6 months to a couple of years to write that material. They've researched it, they've synthesized it, and now, even if you spend 5 or 6 hours to gain all that wisdom, you've accumulated what has taken them almost a lifetime.
Yes.
Right? And now, if you also improve that by developing some either speed reading or other forms of reading concepts where you can get through the material even faster.
You're legally stealing their knowledge.
Exactly. And once your brain has been stretched by a new idea, a book, an insight, it can never go back to thinking the old way again.
You're absolutely right. And if you want to keep pushing that idea, so I want you to describe for your listeners what you see.
I see a very large book. I would say a good thick book. It looks like an older book. It has a green cover and it is black, and it is the Atlas. Was that Shrugged?
Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Okay. So I read this book every December.
Okay.
For the last 21 years.
Now I'm going to ask you why.
There's a reason I read this book.
Okay.
Every December for the last 21 years. It is the foundation of my philosophy. Okay. It is achievement orientation. It is a master's and PhD in achievement orientation. Okay. And although she weaves her philosophy through this book,
Right.
I would tell your readers, if you want a magical mystery tour, as the Beatles used to say,
Yep.
read Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, which was written the year I was born, 1956.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay.
And in fact, that leads me to pretty much my last question, because I think we've actually hit the question of hiring an expert a few times throughout our discussion so far. But you also have a chapter called The Difference Between Philosophy, which you just talked about, right, in the Atlas Shrugged, strategy and tactics. So as far as our last kind of, as we land this plane, what is the difference that you talk about between philosophy, strategy, and tactics?
Well, let me give it to you in my own career. So I'm a retirement wealth strategist,
Right.
and investment counselor. I probably have 40 different names. Okay. But basically, my philosophy is to build wealth intelligently.
Yep.
And turn that pile of assets eventually into an income that'll support you in retirement by creating a synthetic paycheck. Okay.
Okay.
Because no matter what the amount of assets that you accumulate over your working lifetime,
Right.
okay, you have to turn that into an income.
Right.
Okay. You're not just going to keep it all in a savings account and take out $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month, whatever the number is.
Right.
Okay. You have to create the synthetic paycheck. So the philosophy is to create an abundance of wealth that will see me through my family's retirement. That's my philosophy. So everything that I do is toward that goal. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So from there, once I have my philosophy, I can create strategies.
Okay.
So some of my strategies might be that I save a portion of all my income.
Okay.
That's a strategy.
Right.
Okay. A tactic is more granular. I might put $1,000 in an index fund every week, for example.
Okay.
Or I might buy a $5,000 or $10,000 municipal bond every month. Okay. That's the granular. Okay. So we go from the large to the medium to the granular to the small.
Right.
Most people start out with tactics. Okay. They don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're going to buy $1,000 of X every month.
Right.
Okay. It's like, well, what are you trying to achieve here other than, just being very granular? I'm going to buy Apple stock, for example.
Right.
Okay. That's not a philosophy. It's not a strategy. That's a tactic.
Exactly.
And if you want to learn more about it, you could be next to a football coach during, an NFL game, and you will learn the difference between philosophy, strategy, and tactics.
That's good. I like that one because, especially as we're getting close to the end, we're in the middle of the season, and now the games are getting a lot more intense because now everybody's fighting for their rankings and where they're going to fall. And then you get into playoffs and so on.
So when you see that fella or woman with the clipboard and the pen, and they're doing this, that's a tactic.
Right.
Okay. But the tactic is to finish the strategy.
Right. Right.
Which is to get the ball to the end zone.
Come out of the philosophy.
Right.
Exactly. Listen, Rodger, this has been a great conversation. The book is definitely worth everyone who's listening to go and get it. 18 wealth lessons that will transform your thinking. And it's well written. And I like the idea that at the end of each chapter, you ask questions and you give places for people to write into the columns and write into the book. So it's really a workbook where
I gave them the ability to have a writer downer at the end of each chapter.
Yes, you did. And you have some really good leading questions that can help them think through what they just peruse or screen. And it doesn't take long to get through the material, but it's meaty. It's very meaty and gives you a lot of good insight. So I just want to thank you for, us getting connected. I know we knew each other back in Maryland a little bit from Steve Harrison and Jack Canfield and those folks, but I really appreciate our conversation today and just the insight and wisdom that you're bringing to the table. And also, I'm going to check out Alison Schrugg's book. And
No. Ayn Rand.
Yeah, Ayn Rand. Yes.
A-Y-N. Atlas Shrugged.
Shrugged. Got it. Got it. So
it's only the second most famous book in history, Gerald.
I have to check it out. Anytime someone says that, I'm hooked. I got to go look. As soon as we're done, I'm going to Amazon.
Read 30 pages a day. You'll be done in a couple months.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, it was a pretty thick book as well. So I got you.
1,168 pages.
Wow. Yeah, you've read that a few times.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Well, listen, It's a pleasure talking with you. Where can people find out more about you and learn and if they want to?
Well, I have a website. I'm often called the Equal Opportunity Critic.
Okay.
So I created a website, eocritic.com, and it talks much about my latest book, which is called Erasing America, Broken Politics, Broken Country, but they can find a whole lot about me there at eocritic.com.
Excellent. Well, Rodger, thank you so much. I look forward to having this conversation again. Maybe we'll talk about your next book down the road here. But thank you so much again for coming on to the show.
And thank you. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day.
Excellent. If you're enjoying the content and finding it valuable, we would appreciate it if you could take a moment and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us and helps us reach a wider audience. If you leave us a 5-star review, it would mean the world to us. Not only does it help us improve the podcast, but it also helps us attract more sponsors and grow our community. Thank you again for your support and for listening to the Productivity Smarts podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to Productivity Smarts, where we help you achieve your goals and live your best life. We hope you've gained valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your productivity and increase your happiness and fulfillment. Remember to apply what you've learned and keep striving towards your goals. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring episodes and expert advice from our host, Gerald J. Leonard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and unleashing your productivity smarts.